Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial. Today's review will be Unknown Origins, a film I found on Netflix. That looked rather interesting. It was filmed in Madrid, Spain, and none of the actors or actresses are familiar, but I'll go over their name. You got Javier Rey, he plays as the main character. David Valentine. You got Veronica Eshkul, she plays as Norma, which is the captain of David Valentine. Then you have Jorge Elias. He plays as the nerdy comic guy who helps the police out, and his dad was once in the force. And those are pretty much the main characters. So what happens is you have a murders are popping up in the city, and David Valentine is being mentored, and his mentor is on the verge of retiring, and the captain is pretty much making David's mentor retire because he had a physical done, and he had some health issues, and so instead of him staying on the job, they pretty much was like kind of forcing him in retirement so he can be at peace. And the captain had a son who is Jorge, and Jorge is big into comics. He has his own comic stores. He know all the origin stories and all the history of the comics. And Jorge had a brother, and the brother was a cop. And the cop, his brother, Jorge's brother, died on in the line of duty. And so these killings is popping up in the city, and they didn't know anything about the killings or whatever. So being as though that the son is in the comics, he's seen one of the pictures of the dead body, and he's pretty much looked like, yo, this guy looked gray like the Incredible Hulk. And so they was looking like, and so when at the crime scene they found a little note left that said Incredible Hulk, like Volume 1. So in the origins of Incredible Hulk, he was gray, not green in the origins, and then things changed over the years. So then the captain brought on the female captain Norma. She brought on Jorge because of his knowledge of the comics that can help out with the case. So then more people was popping up dead, and Jorge was just breaking down the origins of the comic for each one of the deaths that was popping up. So meanwhile, they weren't getting nowhere. They were David looked at Jorge as being annoying, and they didn't get along. The captain, she was young and vibrant, and so she had flair to her. So she didn't do things orthodox. You know what I'm saying? She do things by her way. And so she had attraction for David. Of course, you see that build up going on. And pretty much they're trying to figure out who the killer is, and the killer leaves clues. They're getting closer because Jorge is trying to piece things together. They eventually found where the killer's hideout was. He killed a billionaire or a billionaire either or, and took the billionaire's identity. And why but he escaped when they found out who he was. And so he said his name was Navarro. And when he was about to kill David, there was a scene. He said his name was Navarro, and the Norma came in, which was the captain, came in and shot him, and he ended up getting loose because she didn't affect him. So during this time, every time there was a killing, they would go to would get the autopsy done and then get the guy to break down how the person was killed, about how long they lived, where they tortured and everything like that. So all these murders. So David's mentor, which is Jorge's father, even though he's in retirement, he want to get in on the case to use his expertise. So then he goes to the police station, and one of the guys that he knew on the force wanted them to do him a favor and let him get in the system. So of course, when he looked in the system, he found who the killer was. Now he didn't call nobody or let them know. I guess he was on his way to tell them, but in the process of him on his way, Navarro came in and swooped in and knocked him out, took him, and basically at that point revealed who he was. He found out who he was and everything. They had a conversation, so he was basically telling them, like, what are you doing these killings for? And you find out that the killer, Navarro, is the guy that was doing the autopsy of all the dead bodies and stuff. So you find out, like, oh wow, it was him the whole time. So he breaking down why he did it, and everybody he killed had some type of wrongdoings that they were doing. So he was killing people and building up to create a superhero for the community. And David was the ideal superhero. And his backstory, he watched his mom and dad get killed by a drug addict, and he really been upset with that ever since. And so Navarro's left a clue that made it look like he was the one who killed David's parents, so then David could be full of venom and want to come after him, and he won't stop. So that was his motivation. So at that time, he left a message for David, hey, meet me at this one location, and you need to come in a superhero suit. So Jorge kept his brother's old police uniform and gave it to David and said, yo, you call yourself Vortex. I think that's what he called himself, Vortex. And he showed up, and they had a little fight scene. And what Navarro did is he dipped his face in acid, so when his mask came off, David wouldn't be able to see who he was. And then he already planned his death. He pretty much could have killed David, but he pretty much killed himself and threw himself in a whole barrel full of acid like the Joker. And that was pretty much it. And Jorge's father died, and he never got to find out who Navarro was. However, they went back to Navarro's place, and when they went back to the place, they was looking for clues, and then Jorge changed the clock time. And when he changed the clock time, it opened up a secret passage. And when they went in the secret passage, Norma, David, and Jorge found a secret lair like Batman, like a Batman cave. And it was a pile full of money. And they was basically saying, yo, the city, like, it'd be nice if the city can use Vortex when they needed it. So that was the creation of Vortex. It was like, it's kind of cheesy in a sense, but it was decent enough to watch. Cheesy in a sense, how all this was playing out, and basically he was like a Batman type backstory, and they could have made it. It started off decent, and it actually, if they made this a series, it probably would have worked. I probably couldn't get a budget to do a whole series, but if it went to a series where if it was like 30-minute episodes, it would have gave you more build up and more storyline, and then or whatever, because it was going, and the way it was going, you was looking at it like, well, this is something that seems like it should be longer. How are they gonna fit all this in a in a time frame of the movie? And before you know it, just said bam, everything got thrown together. It was over, and it was like it crashed and burned real fast. So it could have been decent. So it was okay enough that I watched through it. You know, especially people who into comics and stuff like that. So out of my and it's a post credit too at the end of the movie, and just to show that he is still Vortex pretty much. Out of my 4-star rating system, I give this movie. It wasn't the worst, even though it was cheesy. Just could have been better. 2 out of 4 stars. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment if you did watch it. Until next time.